Snip, snip. Please stop.
On a bright afternoon, in front of a sprawling mansion with marble steps and towering windows that gleamed under the sunlight, a fragile elderly woman sat trembling on the stone pathway. Her voice cracked as she begged for mercy, tears streaking her wrinkled face, while strands of her silver hair fell helplessly to the ground. Kneeling beside her was a younger woman, dressed in elegance, but laughing cruelly, scissors glinting in her hand as she continued to slice through the old woman's thinning locks. What no one expected was that inside that mansion lived a man of great wealth, a man who was respected and admired by many. Yet in that moment, his heart was about to shatter in a way money could never fix. If you believe in kindness, compassion, and second chances, take a moment right now to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Goldmine Stories. Your support helps us spread more stories that inspire and touch hearts. The old woman was named Margaret Lowood, mother of the wealthy and powerful Leonard Lowood. Though Leonard had built an empire in finance and was often pictured in glossy magazines with polished shoes and confident smiles, Margaret had lived her life in simple humility. She was known to her neighbors as a woman of kindness, one who offered a cup of tea to strangers and a warm embrace to anyone carrying sorrow. Her greatest pride was her son, whom she had raised alone after losing her husband when Leonard was still a boy. But in her old age, her strength had waned, her steps were slow, her hands shook as she held onto her cane, and her once neatly styled hair had grown frail and thin. Margaret was vulnerable, and though her son's fortune could have sheltered her completely, Leonard trusted that his girlfriend, Vivian Hale, would treat his mother with respect and care whenever he was away. After all, Vivian had been introduced as a sophisticated woman of charm and grace, the kind Leonard thought could stand proudly by his side. Yet that afternoon, behind the closed gates of their estate, Vivian revealed another face. Instead of kindness, she wore a smile that carried cruelty. Instead of lifting Margaret up, she mocked her fragility. "You look ridiculous with this hair," Vivian sneered. Forcing Margaret into a chair, the old woman pleaded softly, clutching her shaking hands together. But Vivian only laughed, gripping the scissors tighter. Snip after snip, she cut, while Margaret sobbed and begged her to stop. The mansion's front lawn seemed endless and silent, save for the heart-wrenching sound of Margaret's cries. The sun glared mercilessly, casting long shadows that stretched across the stone path. Every tear that slid down Margaret's cheeks glistened in the light, making her pain all the more visible. Yet Vivian's laughter only grew louder, feeding on her helplessness. At that very moment, Leonard was returning from a business meeting earlier than expected. His polished shoes clicked on the pathway as he hurried up the driveway, a black briefcase in one hand. His thoughts filled with contracts and numbers, but then he heard his mother's voice, fragile, breaking, begging. It was a sound he hadn't heard since childhood. When she cried for him in the dead of night after his father's passing, the memory jolted him and his heart skipped. He froze for a split second, then rushed forward, his eyes searching desperately. What he saw left him breathless. His mother, his pride, his protector, sitting on the cold ground with tears streaming down her face, her hair scattered around her like fallen leaves, and Vivian towering over her, laughing with cruel delight. For a moment, Leonard felt as if the world around him had collapsed. His chest tightened, his legs nearly buckled, but anger surged through his veins. He dropped his briefcase, and the sound echoed against the stone like a thunderclap. Vivian's laughter faltered when she saw him, but the damage had already been done. Margaret lifted her eyes to her son, trembling, whispering his name as though he were her last hope. Leonard rushed to her, kneeling beside her and holding her shaking hands, his voice cracking with both fury and sorrow. In that instant, he realized that all the wealth in his possession meant nothing if he couldn't protect the woman who had sacrificed everything for him. Vivian tried to explain herself, her voice coated in excuses. But Leonard's gaze silenced her. He saw through her charm, through the polished image she had worn in public. What stood before him was not a partner, but a person who had betrayed the very foundation of his heart. Without a word, he pulled the scissors from her hand and threw them aside. Then he turned his attention back to his mother, wrapping his arms around her, whispering promises that she would never again be left unprotected. The days that followed were filled with both sorrow and healing. Margaret, though deeply shaken, found comfort in her son's unwavering care. Leonard cancelled meetings, postponed trips, and dedicated his days to being by her side. For the first time in years, the powerful businessman was not seen in conference rooms or luxury hotels, but in the quiet comfort of his home, cooking simple meals for his mother, brushing what remained of her hair gently, and reminding her that she was his greatest treasure. The mansion, once echoing with Vivian's laughter and false warmth, became a sanctuary of genuine love and healing. Vivian, on the other hand, faded from Leonard's life completely. Her betrayal was a wound that left a scar, but it was also a lesson. Wealth might attract people, but it also revealed their true character when tested against compassion and kindness. As the days turned to weeks, Margaret's smile slowly returned. Neighbors noticed her sitting by the garden once again, her silver hair tied neatly with a ribbon, her eyes brighter than before. She often held Leonard's hand as they walked, whispering how proud she was of him. Not for his fortune, not for his success, but for the man of heart he had chosen to be. Leonard himself found a new perspective on life. He realized that the greatest empire he could ever build was not one of business, but one of love, respect, and protection for those who truly mattered. The story of Margaret and Leonard serves as a reminder that cruelty, no matter how small, leaves wounds that wealth cannot heal. But kindness, pure, selfless kindness, has the power to restore even the most broken hearts. And for Leonard, his mother's tears became a turning point that reshaped his destiny. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Goldmine Stories. Your support helps us bring more real emotional stories that remind the world of compassion's power. And before you go, let us know in the comments, what does kindness mean to you in moments when it matters the most?